Hello all, Yuli here for another Wednesday Wisdom Share. I'm sorry that I missed last week, but not sorry at the same time. Last week is a perfect segue into the discussion for today. Last week it was a rainy day, very similar to today, and I was in my jammy jams and I had nowhere to go, no one to be. And I just decided that I was gonna just play with some artwork. I'm working on a new piece and I am testing out a new medium. And so it was time to just be sort of like destructive and creative at the same time. And, you know, if I am painting something and it looks like complete total crap, then that's fine. It's okay because it's fun, right? And so I had the best time, the best day, all day long, and this creative energy that lights me up, that fills me with a lot of joy. And I kept thinking, man, if I could just do this, blah, blah, if I could just do this every single day, all day long, all the time, and like on a grander scale, and I had a big studio, and I was just really getting lit up. And so I did all of that. That was the whole day. And I allowed myself that. I gave myself the permission slip to have that moment. Well, then the next day comes. The next day, immediately, Judgment Judy pops up in my head and is there saying, you know what, Yuli? You were not productive at all yesterday. I don't know what you're thinking. This is your living situation. This is your money situation. This is where you are. And like the whole state of the world address was all of a sudden blasting me and judging me because I was, as I was telling myself, unproductive. And I said, whoa, hold on there, sister. I'm not going to let anybody else talk to me like this. I'm certainly not going to let myself talk to me like this. So let's get down to the bottom of this. First off, what are you saying is productive? So you're saying that I was not productive in creating joy. You're also saying that I wasn't productive because I was playing. You're saying I was also not productive because I was meditating and I was being still. Well, let's define productivity. We have a tendency in our modern society to link productivity to abundance and to livelihood or living situation, and how as a measurement of where we're going with our dreams and our goals. When we link it to abundance, we link it to abundance in the terms typically of financial energy and opportunity and connections, but mainly financial energy. And so when we think about this, then yeah, okay, so me having a little playtime and getting some process worked out with my artwork, that could be seen as not productive. I could see that. However, that's very small-minded outlook. Because if you look at the bigger picture, actually when we're still, when we're meditating, when we're being centered and receiving the guidance and we're receiving the insight and we're receiving all of the inspiration for next steps, which would be playing with process, that's actually more productive than if I was to be busy doing something that I really didn't feel like was in my joy in that moment. It was not a joyful decision because I would do it begrudgingly and it would be half-hearted and it wouldn't have the same impact if I was to wait until that was going to be coming from a heart space and an inspired action space. and a timing and that energy. And then it would be fruitful and productive as far as, it would be moving energy in a positive way, and it would be in flow. And so me playing with my art, that was actually me being in flow. Now let's take this a little step deeper. I then asked myself, okay, well, I talk about often that we're supposed to be making decisions based off of what brings us joy. First off, you have to figure out what brings you joy. That's the really big question. And it took me a long time to figure out what brings me joy. And you wouldn't think that it would be that difficult, but we've been so repressed for so long. Some of us have been on the struggle bus for such a long time that we forget what it feels like to feel joy. Or sometimes even feeling joy brings upon sadness, because then it's turning into something that we're longing for. We long to have these expressions of joy and these things that bring joy into our life. Or it reminds us of a time that we had this joy in our life, and at the current time, maybe we don't have that. Well, this is a call to arms. It's time for you to step back into that joyful space. It's time for you to embrace doing all the things that bring you joy, to let loose this attachment and this label of, well, what brings me joy is skywriting. I like to fly up in a plane and write messages in the sky with the plane. Or I love to create artwork, or I love to dress up in cosplay, or I love to do whatever. All the things that bring you joy, those can be productive. In fact, it's you being in alignment with who you are. So it's the most productive expression of yourself that you could possibly do or be. Really, it's being, not so much doing. We get so wrapped up again with that doing, when really all we have to do is just be ourselves and do the things that we really like to do. Like, I'm an artist. It's the label that I most love about myself. When someone asks who I am, I don't first say that I'm a sound healer and I create meditations and I put out this wisdom and I'm a life coach and all these things. I say I'm an intuitive artist. But what art am I creating, and why am I not creating this art? So what label do you most assign to yourself or feel most aligned with? There was a point in my life when I was married, and I used to say that I was an accounts receivable, and I used to cringe every time I said that, because that was not me. I can't even imagine myself in that role now. Being an accountant, it's just not me. And who out there is living in their not self state? I dare to say the majority of us. And it's really sad. And this is why there's not much joy in this world. And it's possibly why you don't feel joy, or you might not know what your joy is. And that's because for so long you have been living in your not self state, not in alignment with yourself, not allowing the soul to drive the bus. Because we as humans, our human self, we've been so conditioned that we need to make the money, we need to survive, we need to make a living. Well, what if that living is following your joy? And I believe that I'm here for that mission, to inspire others to do this. And so it is for me to actually live and be empowered through living in my joyful state. So I then go back and I ask myself, why, Yuli, was I not creating all this artwork that I needed to be creating? I get the images from spirit. That's where I get the inspiration. And then I put them in my phone, and then what? They go there to die because I am not creating. I'm using my feminine energies of receiving the inspiration. I'm open feminine-wise, but then I put it in my phone. So then the masculine basically goes there to die. The masculine part would be the actual part that actually makes the artwork or comes up with the logistics of how to make it. And then from the creating the logistics, having the plan, we then do the inspired action, which is then uniting our feminine energies with our masculine energies to create the outcome or the product, whether that be you as a content creator, you as a skywriter in the sky, or you as, you bring your ideas to fruition, to actualization. You being a dream weaver. How awesome is that? So I then again asked myself, why have I not been doing the art? Because for so long I've been told that art is just a hobby. I'm no good at it. There's no way that I can actually make a living at this art. These are the things that I was telling myself. Even in school, even when I was going for my bachelor's in fine arts, I was even told, you'll never make a living as a fine art photographer or a fine artist because nobody else has. There's no way that you can. Well, maybe I can. I get the inspiration from Spirit, so Spirit's got my back. Spirit is calling me to do this. Spirit is calling me to create and to create art. And so many times I've heard from other people how much my art means to them. And yet I still don't create because I'm running this program in my brain that says I can't. Well, it's time to say boo-fung-goo to all of that nonsense. I need to put the art as the priority. We need to put our joy as the priority. I know it sounds counterintuitive. I know it sounds frivolous. I mean, they're, renouncing funds for the arts, or they're not having art in schools anymore, in public schools, or their galleries are closing down left and right. And yet I still want to have a gallery. Maybe I want to have a different kind of a gallery. Maybe the other kinds of galleries, the regular conventional galleries, that they're not advancing with the times. So we can get creative there. We can get creative with whatever it is that brings us this joy. And so so now I have then busted through the program running, saying that basically the starving artist program, which is also a starving healer program. How many of you healers have been told you can't possibly make a living doing Reiki, or you can't possibly make a living doing whatever your healing is? Well, times are shifting. In fact, I just, you never know what opportunities are going to flow your way. If you just believe and just know. And when you're in this flow of doing what brings you joy and talking about the things that bring you joy. For me, it's art, nature, sound, those things. And when you talk about those things and you put that, you light up, you allow yourself to light up. Some of us have this fear of being seen. It's okay. It's okay to be seen. You feel like, oh, if I'm seen though, if I shine my light, I'm going to be seen, and then people are going to judge me because what if I mess up? Well, first attempt I learned, fail, and fail again. And it's only going to make you stronger. Or, I have like some test things over here. I haven't worked with this medium before, and so I printed an extra one and decided that I would just have some fun with it. I mean, some of these look like teetotal crap. Like, look at this one. I don't really like that one. Maybe some of you love it, but there's a few of these that I'm not so fond of. But this is just a test print. I'm letting myself fail. Go ahead. Keep falling. Keep failing. Because you're just going to keep perfecting it. As long as you learn from the things that didn't work out for you and you just keep going with it, eventually you're not going to be such the albatross anymore, and it's going to come naturally. This is not to say that, when we follow our joy, it's going to just come supernatural and everything's just going to come, the floodgates are going to open. Maybe that has happened. And I'm hoping that happens for me. I'm calling that in. That would be awesome. But, sometimes when we're testing out our wings, metaphorically speaking, we're going to have a few crash landings. In fact, we got to learn how to land also. We're not just going to learn how to fly. The landing part sometimes is the most important because we got to stay grounded. We are still humans. But let yourself off the hook. Don't take yourself so seriously. Allow yourself little bits of time throughout the day to just do what brings you joy. If you like working on cars, allow yourself that time. If you have a partner or family or whatever that is prohibiting you, maybe you can have a conversation, opens up that dialogue of, and also offers you the opportunity to set a boundary of, hey, you might like to do something that you love to do, and I would like to do something that I would like to do. Can we coordinate this? But here's what would really make me happy. I'd really love to do this, and I'd like to have maybe 30 minutes to do it. And then maybe 30 minutes turns into a little bit more time and a little bit more time. And the more you're in this flow of doing it, and allowing yourself to be immersed in this joyfulness, the creative ideas will flow to you of how you can make a living at it, or maybe other people will see you doing what brings you joy. When people do what brings them joy, it's magnetic. Absolutely magnetic. I was watching a World Culture Festival, and I'm not a big fan of the Caribbean metal drum as a everyday instrument, but there were some guys up there on the stage, and they were having the greatest time just playing songs on their metal drums, and it was like probably about 10-15 of them, and they're just playing and they're having such a great time, and they're connecting with each other, and it was magnetic. I couldn't not watch it. I couldn't not smile. I was beaming, watching them do what they love to do, watching them live in their joy. And it was inspiring. It made me want to go home and do what brings me joy. It made me ask that question to myself. What brings me joy? What lights me up like that? I want to feel like that. And it's contagious. And then it's addictive. And that is a really good addiction to have, is an addiction to what brings you joy. As long as it's healthy. As destructive things, not really so much. So I'm not condoning destructive habits. But yeah. So ask yourself that question. What brings you joy? What lights you up? And then spend a little time doing that. A little more each and every day. A little more, a little more, a little more. And notice what comes up for you. Do you beat yourself up for spending that time thinking, oh, I should have mowed the grass, or I should have washed the dishes, or I should have done some marketing or promoted something, or I should have spent another 20 minutes at work, or, you know. But notice also how much more at peace you felt while you were doing that joyful thing. And now imagine if you inspired one other person to do that. And then that person inspired somebody else. And then so on and so forth until maybe your whole neighborhood is just doing what brings them joy. And then who knows, maybe some of your joyful things can collaborate. And then that's expanded joy. And then what if you like a whole country? What if worldwide we're living in our joy and our aligned selves? Isn't that how it used to be? The baker loved to bake, and so he'd bake bread. And he'd bake so much bread that he couldn't possibly eat it all. Not even his whole family could eat it. And so then he would, share it with the rest of the village. Then you had the blacksmith who loved to make things with metal. But he made so much of it that, he's got too much and he has an overflow. And then that goes out into the community. Maybe she loves to garden or she loves to sew. And the farmers are ripping their clothes, and so they have her there and she can fix their clothes, and she can, so that's how communities are built. And that's how we are naturally supposed to live, is just from our natural essence of being in our joy flow state. Yes, it's going to be a transition. It's going to be a transition for me too. But we're on this journey together. And I personally am calling it a smooth and easy transition for myself, and a smooth and easy transition for all. We don't need to be the albatross for very long. It's just remembering. Once we remember who we are and what we love to do, it becomes natural. It becomes a natural rhythm. Our masculines and our feminines within us uniting. Sacred union. Kundalini rising. And there we have it. So I'm going to bid you all adieu. For now, I'm going to go and create some artwork now that I've created this content for you. And I feel fulfilled. And that I am complete. I would love to hear what brings you joy down in the comments below. Please do feel free to jot that down and share it. Maybe what you do that brings you joy is in alignment with what brings me joy, and we can collaborate and do something joyful together. That would be wonderful. If you love this content, you like this content, you enjoy it, it has offered you something, please do hit that like button. It would mean so much to me. Help me to grow and to blossom, and help this information to be spread out. And if you want some notifications as to when I'm going to be putting these out, please do hit the bell and subscribe. Maybe it's over here. I don't know. I'm still learning. And so thank you all so much for tuning in with me. So much gratitude. Namaste.